The all-new Fiat Tipo four-door sedan today on Autogefühl. It's the notchback version, the three-box derivative of a lineup which also includes a five-door hatchback and later in the year also a wagon type of vehicle. Well, as you know, Autogefühl is your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews, and today we want to stress that ambition to explain you in detail what this new Tipo is about. We start with an exterior design criticism, go then further into the inside of the car where some surprises are waiting for you, some good surprises, some not so good surprises. And we will also let you know where this car is built and what people are behind it. Because it's not, as you will learn, a totally Italian car as the original Tipo has been. By the way, that original Tipo has been built nearly 2 million times between 1988 and 1995, and it was even Car of the Year in Europe in 1989. This one is new on the market in Europe since March this year, and it is built in Turkey because the car is a joint venture project between Fiat and Tofaş. Tofaş is a company that traditionally built or used to build Fiat cars in license for many decades, and therefore the car is also built in the plant of Bursa, south of Istanbul. It also has its own name in Turkey, but that's another story. As I told you, in Europe and on other markets in Asia and the Middle East, it will be called the Tipo. And there, for American listeners is also, or viewers, it's also important to know that there might also be a Dodge version, and the name for this Dodge might even be the Neon. And again, here we can think back in the glorious past of Dodge. There was a Chrysler Neon and a Dodge Neon, I think in the 1980s or 90s, which was very popular. So wait and see. But now we go more into detail and starting with the exterior design of the Tipo four-door. Right, let's have a front view analysis of the Fiat Tipo. And just to start with, for me, the designers tried their very best, but personally for me it's not enough Fiat. It doesn't cry Fiat for me. Although there is this large badge here in the middle, in the center of the grille, it could be everything starting from a Kia even to an Audi. The headlights are very much from the shape like an Audi. So a little bit anonymous, that car, not strong Fiat DNA. But coming to the details here, you see this lower chrome inlay, which is characteristic for the lounge version, for the top version. The standard cars doesn't have these. Here we have very intricate, I mean this is very complex here, these horizontal fins with a chrome plating at the front end. And from a distance, it looks a little bit like a grid when you watch it from 4 or 5 meters or 4 or 5 yards distance. So this is very complex, as are also the headlights. The daytime running lights are integrated here. The turn indicators are on the inside. And further down here we have these fog lights, also with a very nice little chrome element here, but also these are reserved to the lounge version. So no fog lights in the bread and butter variants of the Tipo. Coming to the side silhouette of the Tipo, the length is 14'8" or 4.53, 4 meters 53 centimeters, so it's a very long car. The wheelbase is 2 meters 64, which is also a very good base for roominess in the interior. I would say the proportions are very nicely on this car. With a 3-box design, most designers tend to have a little bit longer rear overhang to give the impression of a large boot. This is a rule that many designers follow, whereas the front overhang in a front-wheel drive car you always try to make as short as possible. The lounge version is standard-wise equipped with 16-inch light alloys. In this case we have the optional 17-inch alloys with very pretty design here in a dual color theme, silver with black. Whereas in the front end, of course, we have disc brakes. In the rear, you hardly found that anymore today in modern cars. We have drum brakes. Only the more powerful diesel engine, the 1.6 liter, comes with disc brakes at the rear as well. Here, this is also a nice feature, very practical. You don't have to unscrew a fuel filler cap anymore. It automatically shuts. And why are they doing this? This is also, by the way, many Ford, or most of the Ford cars in Europe have this for many years now, and some other manufacturers as well. It prevents you to fill in accidentally diesel fuel into your petrol-powered car. And you will not be surprised to hear that many people do that in a hustle when they are in a hurry. So, and a close look to the rear drum brakes of the Tipo in the 1.6 liter petrol engined version, and then the 17-inch Pirelli Cinturato tires with the 17-inch dual colored light alloys. This is really a piece of art in itself, and it gives the car a little bit more fashion, whereas the rest of the car is more conservative, but this is something to give him more flair. So the boot lid and the rear bumper area of the Tipo comes again with this chrome strip reserved for the lounge version, and the Tipo badge. The rear taillights here, you probably agree with me, are looking pretty similar to contemporary Renault taillights in this pins-shaped form. It looks quite attractive also at night. Here we probably can see that later in a detail shot here. Very nice nighttime appearance. And here maybe this is a tribute to Italian or French city driving behavior. This is all made of plastic here, this whole piece running all the way through the rear arch, rear wheel arch. It's all done in plastic. Only here, this piece is of metal. So we're now going to enter the interior of the Fiat Tipo, and we always start with a closer look to the key fob here. We have this Fiat badge. This is when, if you press that to close the car. This one obviously the one to open it, and there's a third button here to open remotely the trunk lid. Right, it's now open, and we first grab this handle here. It's in chrome, that looks pretty nice, but if you take a closer look, please, here you see this black element. It's a little bit strange actually to operate this, and we wonder why they have these two pieces here. But anyway, let's open it. It's in chrome, by the way, here, and also this lower line is in chrome only on the top versions of the Tipo, the lounge version. May I draw your attention to the door. The upper part is in a quite nice structure here, as you can see. It is hard plastic, very solid. Of course not premium-like, but for this type of car that's fine. And here we are really quite excited about this material. First, it looks not bad. It could also be easily to clean it if there is some dirt. And it looks like leather, but it's only artificial leather. Fiat calls it eco leather. Nice contrast here in the color coding, and then again the lower part in black again without this texture. Here we have this storage area, which I think is good enough. It's not huge, but it's big enough to, for example, put in some documents here and also a little water bottle. In the area here, this is also not something special. The buttons or switches for the power windows. In this version of the car also there are power windows for the rear doors. Here the usual buttons for the outside door mirror, and here we have the interior handle for the door, also in chrome. This all, as the whole car by the way, makes a quite solid appearance. It's good finish. The car is manufactured, you can see that, by quite experienced people. Although it's made in Turkey, no difference to any Italian car plant from Fiat. It makes no difference. Very solid manufacturing. So let's have a look into the actual interior here. With these, we come to that a little bit more in detail pretty soon. These very nice seats, probably the highlight of the whole interior for us. The multifunctional steering wheel, also exclusive for this lounge version here, in also artificial leather, so not real leather. And overall, as you can see, it's a very horizontal structure of the cockpit. Not many buttons, everything is very easy and intuitive to operate. To the seats more closely, you wonder probably what this one is for. It's not for a massage of the back, unfortunately, but it's the power lumbar support that you can operate here. And we have two mechanisms here to heighten the seat and to also vary the backrest. And I'll tell you a little bit later, there is a slight problem here with this lever, but I can only demonstrate it when I'm actually sitting in that chair. Right, let's enter the car now, the Tipo. 4.53 meters long. So no surprise that the general feeling of roominess is generous here. And let me first come to that point that I already mentioned briefly here. This second of these two levers has a slight problem. If you fasten your seat belt, it actually, the belt runs directly above this lever. So you better fix your ideal position of the backrest before you put on the safety belt, because this is very difficult now here. Of course you can still vary it, but it's a bit annoying that that runs here directly across that second lever. Again, here we have the lumbar support switch. Maybe, yeah, it blows up here from inside. And these seats are cloth seats, but the outer portions of the backrest and also of this area here are of this artificial leather again. The same material or pretty similar material like in the door. And that gives the seats a very attractive appearance, and it also, as we always stress, avoids killing animals to produce leather seats. Again here, this leather is also in the headrest. So, as we say, probably one of the highlights of the interior of the car. Well, overview of the cockpit of the Fiat Tipo. This also fits, I think, to the overall target of that car, that Fiat wants to target a certain customer group. And in this case, it means it's all very simple, very well organized, no gimmicks, no unnecessary switches and buttons. As you will see, of course, first glance here, this instrument panel, this display of the infotainment system is only 5-inch. And I think nowadays it's nearly impossible to promote it anymore. I was told that for the hatchback version, Fiat offers as an option a 7-inch display, but not in this position, but it will be like in the Mercedes A-Class, for example, put on the instrument panel like a little iPad. Unfortunately, we don't have a picture of that or have a car that I can show you, but this 5-inch display, unfortunately, is the one you can only have in this 4-door notchback Tipo. We tried the navigation system and it works quickly and accurately, although it's not the latest standard. For example, it doesn't mention the motorway designation. It just says you're now entering the motorway, but not the old motorway M1 or A1 or whatever. So it's not state of the art, but it's, I think, better than nothing. And also you have, of course, in the car here, in this display, the rear view camera, at least in color, and with these lines here that helps you, supports you when entering a tight parking position. Buttons here in this chrome, by the way, this chrome strip here divides the dash into an upper and lower section. And we have only four buttons here. This one is the city mode for the steering. This is a typical Fiat innovation. So it means in traffic situations in the inner cities where you want to have maximum steering support, you can change the programming of the steering. It becomes very light. This again is another way to open the trunk from inside. We have shown you already the key fob, but this is a second possibility. This is the central locking, and here is the hazard warning light. This is no button here. It just is the. It just says if the passenger side airbag is in operation or not. Further down here we have the heat and climate control systems. This is with a rubber surrounding, and it makes a quite nice sound. So you can really feel it's every half degree. If also an acoustic signal here. So I think for this car this is the best you can do. Air condition, maximum air condition. It's not a dual zone climate, so this 20 degrees here, for example, is for both sides. Then we have here the ventilation. This is for the rear screen to heat, and this is for the front screen to read. And this is, of course, here the button to shut it all down. Even further down we have a quite large storage area here. And the ubiquitous USB port here for the smartphone, together with something hidden, the push buttons for seat heating. Normally you better find these directly on the seat frame, so they are a little bit hidden here. 12-volt socket, another aux socket, and here is the gear lever, of course, of the automatic gearbox, with a leather surrounding here, again artificial leather, as everything in the car. Also this here is artificial leather. Traditional handbrake and 2 cup holders or bottle holders. Coming to the steering wheel, 3-spoke with the multifunctional switches. Very conventional control stalks here on both sides. Also very conventional the analog instruments for speed and ref counter of the engine. Here we have, by the way, a board computer. We can see here the consumption that we had over the last 192 kilometers, 7.5 liters, 7.6. But as I told you, on motorway you can drive well below 7 liters. Of course, this steering wheel can be changed vertically and horizontally in both directions. So to sum it all up, it's a cockpit without any frills, without any gimmicks. Again here it makes a good impression, the finish is good, the materials are not premium, but I would say they are at least better than in a Dacia or in some Korean cars, Skoda nowadays, but it gives you a good feeling and a solid feeling, that's important. We're now entering the rear compartment of the Tipo. First a look to the door casing, that's of course not very dissimilar to the front door. Again here with a switch for the powered window and a storage area. And the roominess is comfortable like in a Volkswagen Passat, I would say. I'm only 5'7" or 1.70 m. But even the other Thomas, who is a little bit larger than myself, a little bit taller, he would feel comfortable here. Because especially you can put your feet under the front seat. This distance here is 90 centimeters maximum. There's plenty of room left here for me. And also head clearance. If I take my cap off, this is not so generous like this measure here, because the line of the roof is sloping down here a little bit, so don't expect too much here. But this is also a very nice feeling here, lots of space, and also this is always important, that you have enough room here. So seating area, we have a center armrest to fold down. This is an extra, an optional extra. It doesn't cost much for this lounge version of the Tipo, here with 2 additional cup holders and a little parcel shelf. Also a very good finish here, nice material. 3 headrests, important also for the center seat. And you can release, fold down the rear seats. And now you create a hole, and the width of this is around 90 centimeters. Not a little bit more than 90 centimeters, and the height is, I think, 35. So very easy to take certain items here through this hole. Of course, you have to live with this quite steep ramp here, but not all of the hatchbacks have this feature, so it helps you if you have bulky items to store. Of course, it's not so good like a hatchback or even a wagon. What I don't think is very well done is this partition here, and also the rear parcel shelf. It's all in one piece and one material. It goes all the way up here from the rear wheel arch, all the way up to the parcel shelf, and it's all uncovered and of real naked plastic. And I think here you can really see where Fiat had managed to save some money in production. But again, this is a pretty large hole for a 4-door sedan, and many people will like that. That is means an extra degree of variation. So the trunk of the Tipo, there is a good function here. We have already shown you this 3rd button here on the fob, and if you press that, it automatically pops up. Whoosh! Right. First we measure the sill here, the height of the trunk sill. Well, it's something like 74 centimeters from the ground. Of course, again, here you can see how they have tried to save a little bit of money everywhere. These hinges here look pretty cheap. Also, you normally in a premium car you would never have these tubes here, these lines. running freely, you would try to integrate them here to hide them. So this is of course typically for such a car which has to fight in a market which is very competitive. Also here there is no protection, so you risk to have some scratches here sooner or later when you unload your crates of water here. And also you have to overcome a certain height here. And then it goes pretty deep again. But inside, as you can see, Thomas's suitcase here has loads of space, 520 liters. And here you can also see these back seats that you can fold down. So this is the maximum you can expect from a four-door sedan. The width here is a little bit reduced due to the design of the rear lights here. This is mostly design driven, but I think it's still wide enough. What is annoying though is, as you can see, there is no recess here, no grip recess, nothing. So inevitably, if you want to close it, you have to grab the tailgate here in this area on the sheer naked steel. And of course, if it is rainy, in bad weather, you always have dirty fingers. So please, Fiat, next time, or if you have a facelift, just do a little recess here for grabbing with the hand, and then you don't risk these dirty fingers. Also here you have to be a little bit careful. Watch this lock. You can easily hit it with your forehead. Also here it should be either painted red to give some warning, or cover it a little bit more in plastic. That's a little bit of a problem. So before we have a look to the engine of the Tipo, I want to draw your attention to this detail here. On some cars the hood goes down all the way to the front grille. Here in this case, for insurance reasons, to make it cheaper if you have a small accident, only a small crash, the hood ends here, and in case of a repair you only have to exchange this part of the front end and not the whole. So this you see in even ever more cars here. It's mainly for cost insurance, but of course design wise is not so nice. But let's open it. So this is very nice here, these yellow elements, so you can easily see where to fix the hood here. It's also yellow color code. And here on this casing, which is for such type of car, a lot of design here, engine design, is 1.6 liter e-torque Evo. And e-torque is an engine family. This is built in a Brazilian factory of Fiat in Campo Largo. And as it says, it's 1.6 liter, 4-cylinder, all aluminum construction, the block and the cylinder head. So it's actually a quite modern engine, and but funny enough, from the sound point of view, it's not the best we have driven in recent weeks. And we were asking ourselves if there is some sound insulation missing. And as you can see here, there is a insulation mat, but it's very thin. It could be thicker, and maybe that's the reason why in the interior the engine seems pretty noisy. The rest of the engine compartment is pretty standard. We have the battery here, the fuse box. This is here the reservoir for oil, water, the washer fluid. It's also quite obvious how to check the oil here. There's another color coding system, this time in orange. Here you have the dip. And then if you have to refuel or refill some oil, you can do it here. It's also easy with this orange part. Well, apart from the 1.6 liter petrol engine that only comes with this automatic gearbox, you have the choice between two multi-jet diesels, 1.3 liter and 1.6 liter. The 1.6 liter will be available in the hatchback with a dual clutch automatic transmission later in the year. And as a base engine, Fiat has a 1.4 liter petrol engine in store. So we're now driving here in city traffic with the Fiat Tipo. The suspension is normally pretty comfortable on the comfy side. It gets a little bit to its limits when you drive slowly and you have sharper bumps in the road. Then the dampers reach a certain limit. It's better on longer waves and it's easier for the suspension to cope with it. And now we are going to accelerate onto a motorway, and you will see or notice that the engine becomes pretty noisy when you accelerate hard. We go now down to 30 kilometers per hour, make a kick down, and now between 3,000 and up to the ref limit of 5,500, 5,700, the engine screams, so to say, and protests in some way against these high revolutions. If you drive faster on the motorway, it becomes very quiet then again. That is very comfortable, but it doesn't like particularly sharp acceleration maneuvers. And what comes into play as well is this automatic gearbox. It's not very fast in changing these gears, so the combination of the noisy engine, of the rough engine, and the somewhat lazy automatic transmission is not a really ideal combination. Fiat will offer a dual clutch automatic, a DSG automatic transmission pretty soon, but unfortunately not in this sedan, in the 3-box version of the Tipo, but only for the 5-door hatch version, and in connection with one of the two diesels, the stronger of the two direct injection turbo diesel engines that will come as an option to the 6-speed manual gearbox. And this one here is only exclusive for the 4-door derivative in connection with the 110 horsepower petrol engine. So we're now speeding up the hill here on this motorway. The car has a maximum speed of around 190 kilometers per hour, but I can tell you it needs a certain time to reach that top speed, very likely due to the very long final gear of the Tipo. If you drive it at 110, 120 kilometers per hour or even 130, then you can really drive it with 6.5 liters, 6.7 liters per 100 kilometers consumption. It's very frugal then. In city traffic it climbs above 7 liters, 7.5 liters. But overall, this engine and this automatic transmission combination is not too thirsty. It depends quite a lot how quick you drive and how often you want to use the full power of the powertrain. The overview in this Fiat Tipo is more or less without any major problem. The car feels like a typical B/C segment car. It's, I would say, in the Golf area. Front end, you can't see the end of the hood, that is sloping down a little bit. Side view is okay because this line here, the window line, is rather low. And 3/4 view, due to the high parcel shelf in the rear, we come to that later, the rear visibility is not so good, but you have a rear view camera here. Although it's a pretty small, we will see that display, it's helpful. It can support you to park, to enter tight parking positions. Well, the sound insulation is okay, although not superior, and the engine, which in itself is not really silent, these engine noises intrude into the interior quite a bit. So I guess with a little bit more sound insulation, Fiat could improve that problem, but this car, every pound, every dollar, every euro counts. It's a car that really is attractive for buyers who are really price conscious. So you have to be content with that sound, which is higher than normal, that's for sure. So we are now entering our favorite stretch of the day, our curvy section with the Fiat Tipo. And we are anxious to learn how the steering of that car is, because it's not made for sporty or ambitious drivers, much more for family-orientated men or women who has to transport a lot of luggage and maybe 2 or 3 kids. And so we don't expect miracles here, but the steering is not as bad as expected. It reacts pretty smoothly from the center line. There's a bit of body roll of the body as a whole, which is also normal for that type of car. As we have said, it's more comfortable than sporty from the setup point of view. And now we are going uphill to some hairpin corners. It's naturally not on par with the leaders of that class, like Volkswagen Golf or Ford Focus. I would compare it more to a Citroën C4 or one of the Korean competitors. So going uphill now to these hairpins. Again, we can see it masters quite nicely these undulations in this B road here. Engine going uphill again. Sounds a little bit exhausted, so the hairpins here. Yes. So I would say that is for this type of car, the steering does a good job. Maybe Fiat has tuned the steering in a different way for the hatchback version. I think there won't be a but, by the way. There's no talk about it. So we have now come to the crest of that hill. So the overall impression is fine. You can't expect much more from that car, especially since it has not an independent rear suspension, but a torsion beam solid axle in the rear. Of course, for cost reasons and also for packaging reasons. In the front, this is also pretty normal, a McPherson strut, independent front suspension. And tires on that car are 16 inches. We have optional 17-inch. Standard are 16-inch alloys, and in the cheaper versions, steel wheels. In the basic version, only 15-inch in size. Right, let's draw a conclusion about our test drive with the Fiat Tipo 1.6 liter petrol engine 4-door. I have to say, before I drove the car, I had my prejudices. I didn't expect so much from that car. I thought it's just probably a car with good value for money, nothing else. But over the days, the car won on me. First of all, because the fabrication, the finish, the manufacturing makes a very, very solid appearance. The car is well done, no squeaks and rattles. So it makes a very stable and very well-made appearance. That's the first point. Second point, the interior is very roomy. as you may expect from a car with these dimensions, 4.5 meters long. Big luggage area, lots of space at the rear bench. A minus in the interior is the very small center display, 5-inch today. This is a no-go, I would say, so hopefully they can improve that. The driving, the comfort is hampered by the noisy engine. As we say, the combination between this petrol engine and the automatic gearbox is not recommendable, so you should better go for the 1.4 liter petrol base engine or for one of the 2 diesels, or you go straight away to the 5-door hatchback where you have more choice. We have a dual clutch automatic system pretty soon and a stronger base petrol engine, or you wait also even for the wagon. The design exterior wise, although it has not a strong real Fiat DNA, is nothing really wrong from an academic side. The proportions are good. The car doesn't look bulky or boring. The front end for me is maybe the weakest part of the whole thing, because it could be anything from a Volvo, from an Audi to a Kia, or maybe even a Renault. But at the end of the day, the price is, I think, the strongest point of the car. You can have the 1.4 liter in the base version from 13,990 euros onwards. This is really, really cheap. And even the higher equipped models are comparatively lucrative in terms of price and value for money. The car is aiming at a customership that cannot spend millions for a motor car. They just want basic transportation with a certain degree of comfort and elegance. There is Skoda, the Skoda Rapid starts around 2,000 euros higher in the price range, so that is not really a direct rival anymore. There are some rivals from Mazda, the Mazda 3, the Honda Civic and the Ford Focus. They can all have these cars also as 4-door variants. So there is some rivalry for this car, but it could get some customers who really appreciate the value for money aspect. So I hope you enjoyed our drive with the Fiat Tipo. Maybe not the most glamorous car, but a straightforward and honest car, fabricated in Turkey and done by Italian designers. And of course the old Fiat Tipo was an icon of the motor car design when it came out in 1988. This will definitely not be the case for this car, but it has its own merits. So see you again next time. Stay tuned and goodbye at Autogefühl from Thomas.